Hello, dear students. This is Professor John Forsyth, and today I am going to show you how to use the command line tools. So you may be on a Mac or Linux. I'm working with Windows, and there's different types of terminals you can open, especially on Windows. You have the command prompt, you have PowerShell, but I'm using Git Bash, and that is has more similarities and more similar commands as like Mac OS terminal, for example, or a Linux terminal. And so this will be more, everything I do, you should be able to do in like the Mac terminal, which is probably what most of everyone who's not on Windows is probably on Mac. And if you're on Linux, you're probably already familiar with some of these tools. So I'm going to do everything from the command line here. Again, this is Git Bash that I have open. So this whole video will just be here on the command line. So let's take a look at what we're going to go over. So I have a file called command line tutorial. So it's an MD file, a markdown file. And I'm using this command called cat to print the whole file to my screen. So if I hit enter, here's basically what we're going to go over today. So, and I'll come back to this, but let's start off with moving around in folders and directories. By the way, this is going to be shared with you, and there's more information or another tutorial. You can find more commands and some of the same ones I'm going to go over at this link. But I encourage you to do your own research if you find other links for using command line to be more helpful. But the command line is really useful. I should have said this at the beginning. It seems like just hard and only for more advanced programmers or users, but really it's going to help you do some things more quickly and efficiently that would really be impossible or very time consuming to do in some other manner, like opening each file and editing it individually, different things like that. But let's go over some things. Okay, so CD means change directory, and directory is a synonym for folder. So you may hear me say both. So directory equals folder, same thing. So if I CD, that we're going to change to a directory, and I can do pwd to print the current directory that I'm on. So if I hit enter there, it shows me my path starting from the very beginning, and it looks like I'm inside exercises folder and the week 13 folder. I can list the things that are inside my current directory or my working directory. It's the same thing as current directory. If I do the ls command, I see two files listed, the command line tutorial that I just looked at and the test.txt file. If I hit cd with nothing after it, I just hit enter or just space after it, it's going to take me to my home, my user's home directory. If I hit pwd now to print my current working directory, it shows that I'm in the John 4S directory, which is my home. And there's if you've used a remote control that has like the last channel, you can like switch between two channels. CD has something, if you do the horizontal or the dash, it will take you back between the last two directories that you visited. So now it printed where it took me to, but I can also print it with print working directory, and it shows that same path. So that can be convenient, really convenient, rather than having to type like all these and remembering all the directory names. Like once you get to your last two directories, you can just cd slash or cd dash and switch between those very quickly. I should say, it takes time to get used to the command line, so it might not be quick when you are beginning. So, but it's really worth, in my opinion, learning some of these things. So let's look at our next thing. Okay, so we already did some CD and moving around. We printed our directory. We did do some listing, but let's show you another type of way to list a file. So if you do ls-l, that's like a long or more comprehensive listing, and it'll print the files one per line. and it shows you like a timestamp when the file was created. So today's November 5th. This file was created at 9:43 in the morning, according to my local time. And this one was at 9:49 in the morning. And this is some other information I won't go over, but you might find tutorials that show this. This is Unix information, and as well as these things. Part of it actually, well, let me show you one other thing. So if you do a -H, H is like human readable, is the mnemonic I used to remember, and this will show you the file size. So that's what we were looking at right here, 2096. That's bytes. This is kilobytes, so 2.1 kilobytes, or 2096 bytes. So that's just the number of ones and zeros. A single byte is 8 ones or zeros, and so this is 2096 times 8 is how many bits you would have in that, how many single binary numbers. Anyway, but we've gone over binary before, so we're not getting into that right now. More than that. So let's look at how to create content into a file. So I'm just going to, first of all, there's this echo command. I can just say hello world, and I have it in double quotes, and it'll just echo what I said, what I told it to echo to my terminal. But I can also echo things to a file. So I can say echo hello world, and if I do this greater than sign, I can create like a file called greetings.txt. Okay, and if I use the cat command, I can print everything that's in that file, and lo and behold, it has the message that I echoed into it. If I want to echo something else to it, I could say hi and put that onto greetings.txt using the greater than sign, just like I did. Now if I cat greetings, it shows me hi. So it overwrote what my last greeting was. And one thing that I've been doing this whole time that I haven't told you, if you've worked with me on one-on-one on the command line, I usually try to encourage students to learn this. So if I type a command and part of a file name, for example, echo, and let's say goodbye, and then I start typing the greetings folder or file name, gr, and if I hit tab, it auto-completes. I call it tab autocomplete. And so it's easier to avoid misspelling a file name if the file already exists, or even a folder. Like if you want a CD to a folder, I could do cd ... and then like week. If I hit tab autocomplete, it doesn't go all the way because I actually have multiple weeks. I could say week 1. If I hit tab twice really quickly, it'll show me the options of what I can complete to, because this isn't a unique name yet. But if I hit 10, tab autocomplete will just add the final slash, which isn't necessary when I'm using CD. And then hit that and pwd, and lo and behold, I'm now inside week 10 folder. But let's use our channel switcher, the cd dash, and go back to the week 13, which is where we're working right now, and list our files. And we have our greetings. Okay, so the last thing, let's see what the last thing is I printed to greetings, or I echoed to greetings. It was hi. Let's say we want to add something without overwriting the file. We want to append it to the end. And we've learned how to do that in Python. But here's how you can do it on the command line. So let's say goodbye. And instead of a single greater than sign, you can think of these as arrows, like where to direct the echo output. And I want to direct it to the greetings folder. So now if I cat the greetings folder, that's one thing too that you may come across as you work with the command line, and people, like, you start creating these new verbs like, oh, I'm going to cat that, or I'm going to grep that, or cd into that folder, which is kind of easier way to speak about the commands. Like they're like a verb. So let me cat our guide just to see where we're at. Okay, so we've done echo. I showed you how to append with the double arrows. So now let's look at how we can view a file's contents. Okay, so hopefully, actually, yeah. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so we are in the week 13 folder. Okay, so I've already showed you cat, but there's another way to list the contents of a file, to do it one page at a time if it's an especially large file. So I created a test file here that's longer than just a screen full. And if I do less, the less command, followed by the file name, and hit enter, it shows just this gibberish text that I put in. And when I get to the end of the file, this will show end right here. And I can use spacebar to page down a whole page. And actually W will go back up to the top, or up one page, however far you went. So if I hit spacebar, and when I finally get to the end, I can hit Q to quit this view, and it takes me back to my command prompt. Okay, so that's what less will do, one page at a time. Spacebar to page down, W to page up, and Q to quit at any time. Let's see, what else do we have on the docket? So here's an interesting command called file. If you type file and then the name of some file, it'll give you information about that file. Sometimes you may want to print a file, but if it doesn't have an extension like .txt, it might not obviously be a text file. It might just have a bunch of ones and zeros that are random, and it's not a file that's meant to be read like a text file by humans. It could be like an audio file. Or a PDF file actually has a mix of text that should be read and of text that's like for the computer to read, just ones and zeros. Let's see an example of that. So in our, if we go CD up one directory, up two directories, so now I'm going to be inside one directory, puts me inside the exercises folder. Two directories puts me in the BYU Ling 360 folder, and that's actually where I want to go to start off. Let's do an ls to list what we have there. I want to go into the files folder, so cd into files. I could have done this all in one cd command if I just would have memorized where this was, but yeah, we're just doing it a piece at a time. So here is a PDF file. So let's see what file tells us about that. So if I type image and tab autocomplete, it tells me this is a PDF document version 1.7. That's really interesting. Okay, so what if I just cat that to print the whole thing to screen? So I'm going to see some gibberish. So that's not really friendly, but I also see some regular, well, more regular, I should say, English words that are part of the PDF, like markup language, essentially. So it might kind of mess with your terminal if you view a weird file like that, but hopefully, if you have to, you can quit the terminal and just restart it. Okay, so let us do our channel switcher, cd dash, and go back to the week 13 folder. Oh no, that wasn't my last folder. I'm now inside BYU Ling 360, so let's just go back manually here, week 13. And tab autocomplete there just kind of gave me the confidence that I had written that whole path correctly. Because if I hadn't, it wouldn't have auto-completed the last part there. Okay, so list what we've got. Let's see what the next part of our tutorial is here. Okay, so let's look at grep. This one is pretty powerful. So, and I'm going to use my same text file here to use grep. So let's grep. So grep is basically like a way to search and usually text files. And the RE part of grep stands for regular expression. So let's say I just want to find the word text inside test.txt. So what this is going to do is it'll search for this pattern in this file. And if I hit enter, it only prints the lines back. And that's what the P stands for, by the way. It's print in grep. So it only prints the lines that have txt in them. If we cat that file, the test one, notice how it has other lines. But if you only want to print the lines of a file that have a particular search pattern, so we searched for text, so it just printed the lines that have many lines of text. So grep is more powerful than that. I just recommend reading online documentation if you want to learn more about grep. So now let's move on to deleting a file. Okay, so let's list my files here. So I do have let's delete my greetings file. So tab autocomplete and list, and it is gone. So let's move on to creating an empty file. So if you type touch and let's restore my greetings file, greetings.txt. This doesn't really restore it because I don't have anything in it. If I do cat on it now, notice I'm doing tab autocomplete this whole time. So that is really going to make the game, just to emphasize that. That'll make your command line usage a lot faster if you get in that habit of doing tab autocomplete. So yeah, it doesn't print anything because I just touched it, so there's nothing in it. If I do a long listing, and I can also specify a specific file to only list one file, so like the long version of that. So it's 0 in size, and I created it 10:07. If I do date, another little command I can type there, it shows that, okay, yeah, I just created that. It's 10:07, November 25th right now. So now let's look at the last thing we're going to deal with, which is moving files and copying files. Okay, so I could move my greetings file up one directory. So the second part of the move command, if you give it 2 arguments, is where you're moving it to. But I don't have this listed in my little to-do list, but just for learning's sake, I'm going to create a directory. So make directory, and I'm going to call it temp for TMP for temp. So I'm creating that in the same location where I'm at, in the week 13 folder. So if I list now, here's my temp directory. Notice it's a different color. So now I can actually move more than one file at a time. I could say move greetings and move test, and the last argument that I give it is going to be, this is kind of like a function, except I don't need to put parentheses. I just put spaces, and I don't need to put commas between my arguments. So it's like move greetings space test.text space, and temp is going to be the final destination. So if I hit enter on that and I list what I have in week 13, the 2 text files are gone. Let's list what I have in temp. There they are. I moved them 2 files at a time. You could do many files, and the last thing that you specify should be like the directory where you're moving those files to. So that's pretty handy. Let's move those files back to where I'm at. And I'm going to use a star.txt. And then I'm going to use a dot, which means current directory. I can put a slash if I want. It's optional. So that will restore all the files that match this pattern, star.txt. So anything that ends in .txt. This isn't a true regular expression, because if it were, the star would mean this / 0 or more times. So this is really something from the command line tools that allow you to specify like a pattern to match just like anything followed by something else, or if I would have put it at the end, I could have matched something else. So the star will just kind of match anything 0 or more times. So it is similar. Anyway, so I listed, I'm back in week 13 folder, and yeah, I have my temp directory, and my 2 files are back in place. So now let me show you another thing you can do with the move command. Let's say I want to rename the greetings, and let's just call it salutations.txt. So now if I do a listing, my greetings file is gone because I've used the move command, MV, to rename it. I could also use the copy command, and we'll end with this because we're right at about 20 minutes, which is about how long I like to make these videos. So if we copy salutations, we could say copy it to greetings.txt, and now I have 2 copies of the same file. If I list the long version of this directory, they have different timestamps here. So the greetings one I just created, so it's 10:11 is the time on that, and the salutations one is 10:07. It was created slightly earlier. So, and they're both 0. They don't have anything in them. But hopefully that gives you some newfound powers, abilities to do your job and to have some fun. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.